All right, guys, so here it is, the long-awaited update to the last video that I sent for the COVID taste and smell recovery. Again, let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Kevin Ross. I am a chiropractor in Tempe, Arizona, but I am giving you some non-chiropractic information. If I say Dr. Ross, I have to identify myself as a chiropractor in the state of Arizona. However, like I said, I am not showing you guys anything that is chiropractic related. If you ask another chiropractor, they probably won't be familiar with this, as this is not something that's taught in the chiropractic college, but it is information that's within the scope of life and health in the human body and something you guys can do at home. There is a video that's also on YouTube. It's been viewed a bunch of times of me showing a process to reset the olfactory nerve and the taste buds when there is a loss of taste and smell with COVID. I'm also very clear this is not a treatment for or a clarification of or a cure for COVID itself, but for many people there's an odd occurrence that after they get COVID they lose their taste and smell. With the new Omicron version that's out there, a few percentage less people are getting the loss of taste and smell. But actually interesting, there are more people that are losing, having a hair loss related to a post-COVID reaction. And I will hopefully post another video on that subject. But right now, what I want to do is go back and review with you guys what we're talking about with this whole head flick thing, as it's been termed. It's been kind of posted here and there, and I've seen a lot of people doing it incorrectly. The problem is when you do anything on social media, people aren't always necessarily passing along all the information that is correct as we go through that. So let me kind of revisit this with me doing this by myself. It's going to be a little bit more interesting, just trying to show you guys what to do. But the original, what we are talking about, is a process that I don't have a clear understanding of why it is. And people say, why is this happening? I was actually grilled by the Arizona Chiropractic Board about this. And the answer is I simply don't have a solid answer on that, other than it's something that's observed that happens. What we are talking about is in the medical world, there's a known process of called phantom limb pain, where someone can have an arm amputated. After it's amputated, the person still feels the arm. They can feel it where it's at in space. It's essentially, it's not there, but the body neurologically says that it is. What we are talking about, this process, is essentially the mirror image of that, where something is there, but the body says it is not. Is this every reason why people lose their taste and smell with COVID? It is not. However, for some people, if this is why it is, it can make a big difference. And so what the process is simply a hand on the heart. And the first one is pointing into the olfactory nerve. You are pointing at the bridge of the nose, pointing in. How this looks is you are pointing into the skull. What I've done is taken the top of my little skull thing here. I've taken this off so you can see into the skull. But when you're pointing in at this bone that's right here. It's called the cribriform plate. The cribriform plate is where the olfactory nerve sits. The olfactory nerve sits on this little bone here. When you're pointing into, and it's not pressure on, it's not pushing into, it's literally a directional pointing, directional into the olfactory nerve as it sits on that cribriform plate. It is not a pressure, it is a directional. And so with a person with their hand on their heart and they're pointing in, it's a little flick on the back of the head. We've just shown on this stuff that it is simply anywhere on the back of the skull here, just simply a little flick. It's not hard. You don't have to knock someone into tomorrow. As someone has said, you don't have to get the snow shovel out and smack them upside the back of the head. All we're trying to accomplish is to put some sort of input into the nervous system to try to get the nervous system to respond in the proper way towards that olfactory nerve that you are trying to direct at. Another way to do that input, if you are doing this, is by at the hairline. You can just simply tap along the midline of the hair, starting at the hairline on the front. If you have no hair, somewhere up in here in the forehead, start at the forehead and just very light, gentle taps, working your way back towards the back of the head. Do a couple of those. Two different ways now to get input into the nervous system, either the flick on the back of the head or, like I said, some taps just along the top of the head. So the olfactory nerve is one piece of that. If people are losing their taste and smell, this is called anosmia, or generally anosmia. There's also aglossia, where people lose their taste. But we're talking about anosmia is just kind of the umbrella over loss of taste and smell as we define it. The other one then is hand on the heart. You stick your tongue out, touch the tongue, and someone else flicks you on the head or taps on the back of the head. People have asked, what if I'm here by myself? You can try it just touching it and either tapping on the head or flicking on the back of your head. For some people, that does work. There's a website that's going to be listed below. There are some other variations that are on there as well. I won't get into all of that now. So then those are the first two things we've talked about. Pointing at the olfactory nerve, again, pointing in, not pressure on, not pat a finger, directional pointing in towards that olfactory nerve, straight in, don't go off to a side. You're trying to point at what sits on this cribriform plate. Now, past that, then this is where the new information comes in. People that are also experiencing what a lot of people aren't familiar with is what's called parosmia. And parosmia is where people actually taste very foul, awful things. Anywhere from like a little bit of cigarette smoke to literally the smell of their baby wants to make them vomit. Food tastes like rotting flesh. It's usually called the COVID smell, and people just can't even describe how horrible it is. People that are experiencing it think they've lost their mind. There's a Facebook group that hopefully this will get posted on. That when I started was about 4,000 people. At this point, it's well into the 40,000 people that are experiencing this. They have not lost their mind. I am just trying to provide some information for some of these people to see some success. And on the website that I'll list below, there is, I think, 3 pages now of just simple success stories that people have sent to us. It's a portion of what we've got in. Not everything that we've seen is posted on that website. So these other 2 components, there are 2 different things, and we have to explain a little bit of quantum physics with this. And every time I do this, people's like, you start talking quantum physics and you'll lose people. With quantum physics, there's a principle within that the intent of the observer can affect the outcome of a study. And what we mean by that is like with light. If a scientist is studying light for the wave property of light, that's what they see. If they are studying light for the property of packets or photons, that's what they see. If they're looking for waves, they don't see photons. If they look for photons, they don't see waves. The intent of the observer affects the outcome. Why this matters for these 2 things, there's a single contact point, but for 2 different things that we're trying to accomplish. Essentially, the mucous membranes that are inside the nostrils, there's the sinus mucous membranes, particles come in, hit the sinus mucous membranes, they go through fibers that actually pass through this cribriform plate, go to the olfactory nerve that sits on that, and then that is what goes to the brain, and that's how you smell. These other 2 components are the sinus mucous membranes that are inside the nose and this cribriform plate. The contact, though, people are going to go, oh, that's weird, that's stupid, it's dumb. Then don't do this, okay? If you think it's stupid, then ignore it, move on, I don't care. But for those people that are willing to try this, it might help you. Again, does it help everyone? No, but it might help you. So what you do is hand on the heart, 2 fingers, 1 in each nostril, and you're actually pointing up, and I need to have you visualize that little triangle, this little white cribriform plate. You have your fingers in your nostrils, and you're pointing up towards that cribriform plate that's up in your skull. Hand on the heart, fingers in the nostrils, and again, either tap on the head or the little flick on the back of the head. Input into the nervous system. Second one is change your mindset. You're visualizing the soft tissues that are inside your nostrils. Fingers on the nostrils, hand on the heart, fingers on the nostrils, and either a flick on the back of the head or tap on the head. Guys, this is not a joke. These 4 components, the olfactory nerve, the taste buds, the cribriform plate, the little white triangle bone, or the sinus mucous membranes, those 4 components, by trying to get them to reboot or to reprocess properly, might help to get your taste and smell back. Guys, I apologize. This is a very long video. There's a lot of words, but the summary is, so olfactory nerve, point at this. Point at it, hand on the heart. Someone gives you a flick on the back of the head or touches the head. Second one is hand on the heart, touch the tongue. Essentially, you're trying to create a neurologic process between this, that there's a proper communication, that it's there and the body says it is. So that, the other two then, cribriform plate, white bone. This is where you have to focus on it. Fingers in the nostrils, visualize it, close your eyes. Visualize that little white bone in your skull, a little flick on the head, and then hand on the heart, fingers in the nostrils, and visualize the soft tissues inside your nose, little flick on the head, to try to neurologically reboot this. I hope this helps you guys. It will for some, it might not for others. If it didn't work for you, I'm sorry. It doesn't mean this process doesn't work for others. It didn't work for you, but please give it a try. Please share this information. It is a long video, but if someone will listen to the whole thing, you'll get all the details you need. Guys, thank you again for listening. Have a great day. I pray that you guys are healed from either this anosmia or the parosmia that you guys are dealing with. Have a great day. Take care.